Hey, this is Math Minutes Pro with Dr. Harrison. Today, we're going to talk about how to solve a problem involving the law of sines. So let's go ahead and get the problem up here. The law of sines is used when you're trying to find either the missing angle or the missing side of a triangle. In this case, we're going to use the law of sines to find the missing side of a triangle. So let's get the triangle up here. Here we have a triangle, okay, and it's not drawn to scale, but we have A, we have B, and we have C for the angles. And it tells us that this angle here is 118 degrees. This angle here is 22 degrees. And tells us that this side length here is 24. All right. So that is the original problem. And what we need to do now is label the sides. So if this is angle B, then this is side B, lowercase b. If this is angle C, this is lowercase side C. If this is angle A, then this is lowercase a for side A. All right. Now, what they want us to do is to find AC. Okay? So, find the length of AC. Now, this is AC right here. Now, we can conclude that if AC is equal to lowercase b. So if we find lowercase b, we will find side length AC. All right. So let's first begin with the law of sines equation. So the law of sines equation says that when you have A over the sine of A, which equals lowercase b, that's the side length, over the sine of B, the sine of angle A, sine of angle B, and then you have lowercase c or side length C over the sine of angle C. And when you're using the law of sines in a problem like this, you have to use some analytical skills. You have to look at what's given, and then you choose the proportion. This is a proportion where you have two equivalent fractions. You set up a proportion and solve for the missing side B. Okay? So in our first step, we need to find angle C. Okay? And when we find angle C, then we'll be able to write the appropriate proportion to solve for side length B. So let's do that math work over here and do the work to find. I'm going to call this step 1. In this case, we're going to find the measurement of angle C. So I'm going to have a lot of work on this board, so let me block some things out here just to keep things clear and separate. That's our formula. So the measure of angle C is equal to, I think I'm going to write it this way. The measure of angle C plus 118 degrees plus 22 degrees equals 180. Now we can write that equation because that represents the sum of the angles of a triangle and that equals 180 degrees. That's back in geometry, right? Where you add up all the angles in the triangle and set it equal to 180 degrees. So we take the measure of angle C plus, and we combine, add these two, and 118 degrees plus 22 degrees equals 140 degrees. We set that equal to 180. Now let's solve for angle C using the subtraction property of equality. Minus 140, minus 140. Draw the line that crosses out. We get the measure of angle C is equal to 40 degrees. Okay, so that's helpful. Now we can set up the proportion. All right, that is step one. Now I am going to what I call step two. And that's where we're going to write the proportion. So we know that we need to find side length B in order to find the length of AC. So we begin with B over sine capital B equals. Now, before I go any further, we know that the measure of angle C is 40 degrees. Measure of angle C is 40 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there with an arrow. We know that angle is 40 degrees. So that's going to be helpful. Now, what are we going to set that equal to? Well, we know this angle is 40 degrees, and we know the side length. We know that measure of angle C is 40 degrees, and lowercase c, the side length, where C is equal to 24. So let's go ahead and use that information. So then we write for C, C over sine C, C over sine C. So this is the proportion, and now we're going to substitute. So we got B over sine B. We have equals C over sine C. We know what the angle of B is. We know what the side length of C is. And we know what the angle of C is. Therefore, we can, in this proportion, we can solve for B. So let's go ahead and substitute. So we got B over the sine of B, which is the angle B is 22. So I write sine 22 equals, and then we have C, which is 24, over sine C, which is 40. So sine of 40. All right. This is great. We have values in the numerator, the denominator, and the denominator. Now we can solve for B. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by sine 22 so I can get rid of sine 22. So I'm going to put this step over here. I'm going to write it again. And I have B over sine 22 equals 24 over sine 40. All right. And just so I can have some more space, I'm going to bring this line a little bit over here, pointing in that direction. And remember, I said what we're going to do is multiply both sides of this equation by sine 24 so we can get B by itself. So I'm going to multiply this side, not sine 24, but we're going to multiply both sides by sine 22. By sine of 22, and multiply this side by sine 22. And when I do that, this crosses out, and I bring down B equals 24 times the sine of 22 divided by the sine of 40. All right, looking pretty good. So when you get your calculator and you punch in, you're going to need a scientific calculator with the trigonometric functions on it. The way you punch it in is you punch in 24, and then you hit sine of 22. That's going to give you a value. And then you hit divided by for this bar. And then you hit enter sine of 40. And what you get is you get B equals 13.98. Okay, as a final answer. Therefore, I am going to round. I'm going to put these 3 dots. That means therefore, right? We know that AC equals B, so therefore AC is equal to, I'm going to round that to 14. And this is our final answer. All right. So as a recap, what did we do? We were given the original triangle and we did not know the measure of angle C. We were asked to find the length of side AC. We know that AC equals B, and what I did was I labeled this triangle. The opposite of angle angle B is side length B. The opposite of angle A is side length A. Opposite of angle C is side length C. I wrote the original law of sines equation, and I noticed that I could find an angle, the angle measure of C, using some of the angles of the triangle. I found the measure of angle C, which is 40. Then I came over here to step 2, wrote a proportion. I know they asked me to find side length AC, which is equal to B, lowercase b. So I wrote lowercase b over sine B, selecting it from here. And I decided to use this angle, angle C, knowing that we know the measure of angle C and side length, lowercase c. So I set this equal to lowercase c over sine C, which came from here, substituted the values, and then solved for B. And this concludes our problem. So thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon page on my video description below. On my Patreon page, you can get access to exclusive math lessons, study tips, live Q&A, and more. See you next time.